We'll call this meeting to order, and we do have a quorum present. This is the Joshua Animal Control Advisory Board, our regular scheduled meeting here at the council chambers in Joshua City Hall, located at 101 South Main, Joshua, Texas. This meeting is open to the public and subject to the open meetings laws of the state of Texas. We will go into the regular agenda, discuss, consider, and take possible action on the September 17th, 2024 meeting minutes. It's pretty straightforward. It's a simple, she just takes down the minutes. They're recorded. We're all recording these. And she also does some typing of our special stuff in case there's things that happen. So pretty straightforward. I'll just need a motion in a second to accept the meeting minutes. Motion. Okay, I have a motion again. On a second. Second. I got that. Second down there. You're forgiven about names. I'm what?
Motion by Logan, second by Woodford.
I'll let you fill in the blank sun my printer off. Sorry about that. If you don't have your phones on ringer, put your ringers on silent. For that motion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Item number 2, discussing the animal services report, including operational overview and statistical report. What do you have for us?
Well, I came on in December, and I'll give you, first off, I'll tell you who I am, and then we'll talk a little bit about how our program is working.
Great.
Okay. My name is Tommy Miller. I came on December 16th. My background is that I worked in that animal control and animal welfare in the 2000s till 2006, actually till the 1990s to 2006. Went in construction, worked for a while, retired, and then the position came open, and I decided I was doing more work retired than I was working, so I decided I'd go ahead and try to apply for the position, and interviewed with them and some others, and they offered me the job, and I came. One of the things that I liked the best about it was it really wasn't a lot of hoopla about Joshua Animal Control and Animal Services. One of those no news is good news kind of situations. That's one of the reasons why I came. And I toured 2 or 3 times without them knowing who I was and that I was even an applicant. And I found that without supervision, without direct supervision, they were doing a pretty okay job. I did find that when I got here, we had 76 animals in our inventory, 76 pets in our inventory, and we only had 42 at the shelter. Okay. So we immediately began working to find out and correct all those instances and things that were going on. And we also had ringworm in all 3 different areas that you could put a cat. And we also had 2 cat condos that had ringworm in each of them. And so we immediately did some revamping of how we flow the pets through the shelter. We took and made our quarantine room into our quarantine/sick room, where anything that needed treatment or needed additional care would be located there. Our smaller room in the back would become stray holding for cats. And then our adoption room would be an adoption room. Nothing but healthy, adoptable pets. And so we made that. We corrected the inventory. We found that we had several in foster. We had several that were unattached. And we had some that just who knows where they had gone over the years.
That's weird.
Yeah, we had over 50 that were what we call unattached animals in the shelter that were put into our software system, but never followed up with, never dispositioned out or anything like that. So we had no record of where they were. They didn't show to be in our inventory, but they were in our software that said that they were animals. Well, we corrected that. We've done some things like we've moved forward in doing active patrol, which they hadn't done. They basically worked at the shelter. Anything that they had to go out on was a reactive call. They didn't do anything in the neighborhoods because there were only 2 people, you know, and a part-time shelter. And so kind of hard to deal with the public there at the shelter and do active patrol in the community. So when I came on board, we committed, got the staff to buy in, and we committed to doing that. And so we're in the community anywhere from 10 to 25 hours a week, driving through the community, looking for problems and trying to correct them. If you look at our statistics, we'll just start at the first one. Our visitors are up a huge amount because we're not closing the door when they have to go out and react to a call. We have personnel there, some, whether it's me or one of the other staff members that's familiar with operations. We're there, we're open, okay? So we see visitors, and we're taking a better count of those people that come to that facility. Then our phone calls, of course, we're above board. We're above. We're over. We're getting more accountability in that. We're answering the phones more often, taking more of those phone calls. We are over percentage-wise where we would have been last year at this time. Our volunteer hours, volunteers were basically shut down. There were very few volunteers. The biggest volunteers that they had were their foster homes. We have one very good foster that takes care of our kittens, and she has 19 in her care right now. And she does all the neonatal care, any of that kind of stuff. She has rooms outfitted in her house for that care, and she's very clean, methodical, does a very good job. I constantly ask her, "Are you good? Is this going to be an overburdening thing for you?" And she never says that it is, and she does a great job. Hopefully we can expand our foster programs because we need more, mostly for socialization, not necessarily for neonatal care. But when we have pets at the shelter that stay there for an extended period of time, they have to be socialized. They can't just be left in a 4x6 kennel every day, day in, day out, and be expected to maintain their ability to interact with people. So we're working on trying to do that. And we also enjoy having people come in and help us to socialize, because anything that we can do to make them more adoptable helps us get them out in a positive way. Okay. And so we've done that. Our community service is up quite a bit. That's due to the courts sending them to us. So we have them pick up trash. I mean, they pick up trash along the railroad tracks from there to the service center and everything. We keep them busy. We make them work. In our total animal intake, we're running about even. We probably are even because of 2 things. One is because we are doing active patrol. We're picking up strays. We're picking up cats in different parts of the city that were normally ignored. But the reason why we're even and not higher is because we're actually, when people call us or they come to the facility with animals, we validate where they're from. One of the things that I was told when I first got here was we had a problem with people from the county, all over the county and other areas, bringing us in because they felt like we would take them when no one else would. And although our humane side wishes we could, we can only be responsible to the citizens of Goswell. We can't open our doors to the county or to other areas around. If we did, if we really became known, we couldn't keep up. Okay? So that's why they're pretty even. That's why they're not higher or lower. Our dogs pretty even. Our cats are up. The reason why our cats are up is because we've begun trapping. Okay, we've identified several areas of town. Most of them are transient areas, where rentals are profound, either apartment complexes, the mobile home communities that are both rentals. And then we've got areas over by the apartments over here, and between there, the school, Taco Bell, and all that area along there. We've begun trapping. And what we've found, and, many of the citizens, many of them have said, yes, we need the help. A lot of them have said, no, I don't want you to do it. Well, the reality is we have to do it. And when we've tested in all three areas that we're trapping, we've got the city kind of sanctioned off in 4 different areas. We have problems in 3 of them. Okay. One area over here in the northwest, what we'll call the northwest quadrant, we don't have too many cat problems. But in all the others, we do. And what we've found is that when we're trapping, about 1/4 of the ones that were trapped and able to test are testing positive for FIV.
So
Those are feline AIDS and leukemia. Okay.
Which are not really prevalent anymore.
No,
Either one of those are prevalent diseases anymore, because especially
with vaccination
they're
and care.
vaccinated. I rarely test for the positive in cats.
Well, we've got it in all 3 corners. Yeah, it is feral.
Feral.
And our problem that we've had is that the community has basically turned a blind eye to it, because many of the people,
people think it's humane to just lay food out everywhere for the
Yeah.
cats. Oh, I gotta feed this cat that comes up to my house every night.
That's even always been a big problem, even on this board. I've been on this board since its inception, and that's always, and people argue about that, especially even the animal control officers. They did not want to do anything about the feral,
That
because
was
they're
an-
feral cat community, and the people who were from the community that,
they were, the 2 officers were pretty easy to bring on board with the trapping once we tested and found positive.
It's just, because you have to look at it with an open view, and so it's really, if you look at it like it's humane to feed these cats and have them running around the neighborhood, and all these little kids, here, kitty, and all that. But at the same time, these cats are getting run over in the streets. These cats are attacking other cats, they're attacking dogs, they attack kids. All hours of the night, you might be out on the porch and just hear this god awful screams of cat fights. And
Yeah, we had a video forwarded to us from a person who was not a cat owner, who has a carport, and at 2:13, I believe it was, right around there, AM, she had 14 cats under her carport. I don't know when it happened, but there was a fire in the ranchettes, and they got over 40 cats out of the home that burned. Okay. There were many more. Yes, there were many more, and they still reside there, and we have conversations almost weekly about what we can do about this problem. Our ordinance says that you can have 5 pets, okay, without a multi-pet permit. If you apply for a multi-pet permit, and there's even one complaint from one neighbor, you can't get that permit. Okay? And what we've got a few that are wanting them that can't get them because of complaints. So those folks, they still feed, they still do those things. Under industry standard and by our policy, if they feed an animal for 3 days, it's theirs. So if there are 14 cats on that porch and they're continually feeding them, they're the owners and they have to have them vaccinated, microchipped. And if they're brought in, they would have to be sterilized. That makes it, whenever we bring that point to light, many of them are okay. I can't do that. I can't afford that. Well, we need to do something about getting situations where you can manage it and we can manage it. So we began trapping. And it's not fun to know that you're going to have to euthanize, but it's a necessity because we have to trap them. We have to get this to where it's not so prevalent. Like Dr. Susan said, it's not normally because in vaccinated animals, indoor cats, it's not prevalent at all. In well-managed feral colonies, it's managed. Okay, but if they're not well-managed and they're not trapped and they're not vaccinated on an annual basis, it will spread.
The ones in Joshua have never been on.
Yeah.
Ever.
We have no provision in our ordinance for that. So they're either owned or they're not.
To me, there's nothing sadder than seeing a mangy cat with, just a mangy cat.
But you euthanize them if they're FELV or FIV.
Yes, ma'am.
If they're not, what do you get?
If they don't pose a danger, if their temperament is such that they're not aggressive, and that's pretty seldom with the
Yeah.
ferals. If they're not aggressive, but they just won't, you can't handle them, then we will put them up, we will get them ear tipped, sterilized, vaccinated, and then we'll put them up for adoption as barn cats. And we do not charge for those barn cat adoptions, but there are very few of them, and there are very few that are candidates. Right now we have 68 animals in our care. Okay. We have 15 of them are dogs, the rest are all cats. The reason why is because we're in kitten season now. And I don't think I have 4 adults. The rest are all under 12 weeks of age, all of them. And so we're doing our best to get them placed, and we'll continue to. And so that is why those numbers are skewed the way they are. Our adoptions were a little bit lower, but we're coming into the higher adoption months. We're coming into the summer months when we have them around, more adoptables. Hopefully we can do more there. Our return to owners are pretty much flat to the year past. Our transfers we're doing pretty well. We've actually done quite a few this month that's not reflected on here because this was at the end of April. When the second or third week I was here, I transferred all the healthy animals that we could, and they went to Michigan. They were sterilized, vaccinated. Any of them that were up to date, we were able to transfer. The ones we went in and researched, and we went ahead and started vaccinating the ones that weren't. And then we have some that die in care. Mostly it's newborns or when a cat has kittens and something like that. But we have had one that died in care that was because it was medically untreatable, and it came in late at night. We could, no one was here until the following morning. Our euthanasia numbers are up, and as long as we're trapping, they will continue to do that. But euthanasia is not always a negative outcome. Okay? Most people, and there are some movements that will tell you that we need to stop all euthanasia. But can you? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Alice got me one. No, we don't go. I'm sure Dr. Susie's familiar with them or has seen them. analysis. Trying to find it and put it up there for you. This is something that I've been familiar with, and we've discussed, and we have begun to use this and will continue to use this as a basis for evaluation and criteria for how we care for our animals. The freedom from hunger and thirst, we will care for our animals that come into our care. We will make sure that they have good water and good food to eat. Okay? Freedom from discomfort, we're not going to put them anywhere that's too hot, too cold, or where they could not stand, turn around freely and function normal. Okay? The freedom from pain, injury, and disease. If it's something that we cannot treat or don't have a resource that we can get them to be treated, we will use them. The freedom to express normal behavior. This is one that's very hard for people to understand. They go through the facility and they see this beautiful, beautiful pet. Okay. But they notice that it's turning 360s constantly in its kennel. Okay. That's not normal. That's not how anyone would want to be. Okay? And so we calmly would make that decision and go back and humanely euthanize. Those are the hardest ones to figure out. The freedom from fear and distress. We have a lot of pets that come through, or a number of pets that come through, that they're just scared to death. You can't touch them. You can't move them. They may not even be fractured, but if you can't care for them properly, you can't socialize them and make them adoptable because of their fear and their distress. It's not fair to make them sit in that kennel and just sit there in the back corner cowering, hoping you can find a place. So that's what I've used, and it's been utilized since the mid-60s for sure. And it's very logical. It makes sense. And so that's what we use as we move forward each day. Okay. And then,
I got one question.
yes, ma'am.
On the freedom from fear and stress, how long do you work with those animals before you make that decision?
It varies because just like people, every animal is different.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, if you're initially, I would disagree if you're making that.
No, we don't make that call when they come in.
Okay.
No, that doesn't work that way. I have one right now
What
that,
would you say your average is on how long?
well,
Different.
it's just like I said, everything is different. Okay. If I don't do anything by time, because if we did that, that wouldn't be fair either. Because then we'd be saying, hey, we got 3 days, they're ours, we need to make a decision. That's not how that works. They're evaluated daily. Okay. If something is making progress, we have 3 days that it has to be there regardless, unless it's an owner surrender. If it's an owner surrender, we'll take into account what they say, but they surrendered it to us. Okay. And we have two, I believe right now, that they're available for adoption, and they've surrendered them with the intent for us to euthanize. There's nothing wrong with the dog. It just needs to go into a single pet home. Okay. We actually have 2 of those right now. One may be getting out tomorrow. Okay. And like I said, to go back to it, there is no way to formulate what's the right time.
Right.
Okay. So we don't do anything based upon when it's there except vaccination. Okay. And we'll talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, not asking for like a standard policy on time, but looking back on how it has been practiced, what is the general amount of time? Like, what's the least amount of time you've made that decision, and what's the most amount of time?
I've made the decision immediately.
Okay.
And I've made the decision 9 months down the road. Okay. I had to make the decision with my own pet that I had for 4 years. I had her, and I had to make that decision a little over 2 years ago. She was perfectly fine with us. Okay. And it gotten to the point that her anxiety was so bad that I couldn't trust that she wouldn't have a reaction to one of my grandchildren. And I have 10 grandchildren.
Yeah.
So, And I love my pets, but,
Not more than your rancher.
but no, I do not put any animal above human health and safety.
Okay.
Okay? That is our job.
Nor do I.
And that is our job. That is our job first. I'm sorry, I should have said that. We are humane. We do want to adopt every animal, replace every animal that we can in our care. And it's a hard decision. And I do not question my staff when they come to me with a decision that they've made. And I do not expect staff to question me when I make a decision as well. Because it's hard enough to make that decision to have someone question you on why you had to make it. So, and Dr. Susie, I'm sorry I couldn't be more clear, but it is. It's one at a time. Okay. Our average length of stay right now is about 28 days. Okay. We have some there. We had one that was there over 10 months before it got adopted. Okay. So the decisions, you know, it's not taken lightly at all. Okay. And we do all we can to get in place. And I do charge the staff every day. Every day that animal's with us, it should be more adoptable than the day it came. If it's not, we're not doing our job. Our patrol hours, like I said, have increased. Our calls for service are pretty much flat. Mostly because that's what they did then, that's what we do now, but we do have more presence in the community. So
That's gonna be a good thing.
it kind of goes up and down. When you're out there in the community, they know you're there, so you're not going to get as many calls because of that. But at the same time, they know you're there, so you're going to get more calls. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that does work that way. Our traps, of course, if you look, we have 0 trap service for several months. It was pretty long, drawn out, getting people on board and trying to change the mentality of staff to understand why it was important. Okay. And we've gotten it done, and we're starting to see some results that are good, you know, and bad. But that's the nature of our business. Notices and warnings. As you see, when we became fully staffed, when Heather returned from maternity leave, you can see they're going up, and they will continue to trend up. Citations. We've had several discussions with the court and with the prosecutor, and we think we've come to a good spot so we can start doing more enforcement. And so we're going to be writing a few more citations. There will be witness citations as well. We've come up with an affidavit that if you've got a neighbor complaint, that you can fill it out, come up here to City Hall, you can have it notarized by our permit clerk, and then it can be filed with the court, and we'll issue the citation if that's what's needed. So those will be going up too. We only, other than the city event, we did one this last weekend too, but we've done 2 the month of May, and we'll continue to do them as we find locations to do them. Those are things like free microchip clinics. We got 24 Pet Watch to actually donate some chips to us so that we could let people know that it is a requirement under our ordinance that dogs, cats, and ferrets and equine all have to be microchipped. Okay. So to try to let people know we're doing it for the citizens, we're doing it for free until we run out of those chips.
2050, yeah.
We have 50. Our education and training, we've done one event, and that was here this May, and it was the career day, obviously, at one of the schools. We've done one. We haven't been logging, or they haven't traditionally, but we are going to begin logging any training that we go to as staff under the training as well, because it needs to be documented somewhere, not just a piece of paper they come back with. And that's for their certification and their CEs and everything. So that's pretty much the field service stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the revenue and expenditure side, you can look down there and you can see, we have more of several of them than we did in the past. We will continue to get more in the microchip because we are requiring it. We're gonna get more in our vaccinations eventually, and we'll start to see some in the rabies vouchers. Because in our adoption program, we want them out of there as fast as we can, regardless. We would love to spay, neuter, and vaccinate for rabies every animal that came through our facility. But because of our budget, it's kind of one of those things. You can only afford to do it if you know it's going to make it out as an adoption, you know? And so we are sending them out, are beginning to send them out with vouchers for rabies and for sterilization. So those two lines will be going up. Our quarantine fees, we do very few quarantines. We're really lucky and blessed, I think, that we have so few bites. We've actually had 5 at TCAP. And that's a policy problem that they have. They don't keep enough room between their visitors or patients. They have dogs and cats coming in the same entrance. They have fractious animals that they don't make you declare if you bring them in the door. And so we've had few words, because if we continue that way, then we're not going to be such good friends if it continues that direction. So
That's a new place.
yeah, I mean, it's needed.
They just moved from Burleson, they're not moving.
They open a new location.
They closed.
They moved. They closed Burleson under
It
2.
used to be beside CCP.
Yeah. Oh, so the near Antonio's.
And it's just small policy things that they need to change.
Yeah, their idea of keeping animals separated is keep them in your car until they open the door and wave you in.
Yeah.
And
And
a
then
lot
they
of times
put you this close
You're
together.
going in
And then they put you this close together.
Yeah.
And
the big open run.
COVID's not the only reason they need to get 6 feet, you know. You put a halfway scared to death trapped cat next to you know, some sort of schizoid dog, and it's not a good combination. And we've already had our bites from it. And then staff handling issues, they've had a couple of those too. But we're working through them. Our impound fees, if you'll look, it's at 0. Most of those are done through reclaim rather than impound fees. So that will start to change. And I don't know if we're going to change the name of that column or not, because we are going to start charging daily care for the pets that come to us as strays. If you called me and identified a pet as yours today, you would pay the regular reclaim and impound fee, and you would pay its daily care. If it took it 4 days, you would pay $40 plus the impound fee to get it back. Because those fees are set by council, and we're supposed to charge those fees when they're applicable. It does give us the authority to waive and reduce those fees as needed. But like I say, they're there, and it's there to be utilized. And so that will start to change. Our donations, when I came on board, we had $6,000 plus or minus in our donation line. We now, in this short time, we have over $8,000 available in our donations. And we'll talk a little more about that when we talk about our CIP, if you don't mind. And then we are beginning to start charging trap deposits for people who've asked for traps. We have only 1 multi-pet permit in town, and we've got 1 bee permit. That's what we have right now.
He is in.
Beekeeping. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think it's due up, I want to say in July. I can't remember. right off the top of my head. And my computer's down today, so I'm just doing this all off of here. So, we have no refund. We've had a couple of returns that wanted to bring their pets back. And rather than deal with a lot of bookwork and stuff, they just chose not to ask for refunds. So we've had none. If you looked at some of your packets, I'll go through a couple of other things real quick to kind of give you some background. And these are kind of supportive of some of the other stuff we're going to talk about a little later. The vaccination recommendations. When a pet comes to the facility, we have no idea if it's protected from anything. We have no.
That down on the next line item?
It is part of our budget,
Okay.
and we can talk about what we
We'll
began
do-
doing now, or we can do it then.
We'll move on to that,
Okay.
agree then. We're gonna go there. We'll go ahead and we'll move on to it.
Okay, let's see where we are on the agenda.
Like originally asked today with
The budget to last.
Okay, he's gonna bring it up to item.
Yeah, I'd like to talk, before we talk about the budget, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the county bond.
Okay, so you wanna move item number 4 up and
Yes.
put it in 2?
Mhm.
Okay, so
We
we'll
can
move
talk about
item number 4 up to item number 2
Mhm.
and just add it in there. Okay, so we're on the ACAB item, 4, 5. What did it say there? Again. You'll have to just tell us what it is. It's not
Okay.
in the.
The discussion on the Johnson County bond potential impact. I just figured we'd do all the discussion items first and then
Yeah.
go to the one that
No,
I wanted.
I just
to hear.
needed to keep it on,
Yeah.
on record
Okay.
where we're at.
Yeah, so the discussion of the Johnson County bond and potential impact, Joshua Animal Services. The mayor was gonna be here to speak, but I think he had something he had to go do. So I'm not as informed as he is about the bond, but I can tell you the things he's discussed with me. Okay, Johnson County had a bond election and they approved a $60 million bond for the purchase of right of ways and things to spur TxDOT into doing some of the work that they need to do. One of the projects that they've already got engineering, they've already got drawings, they already know that they're going to do it, they just don't have a date, is the underpass over here by the animal shelter. Okay. That bond, those funds will be available in September. Okay. We have a meeting on June 10th with the Johnson County judge to discuss, the city manager, myself, and the mayor meeting to discuss the possibility of moving up that procurement as soon as possible. Okay. The reasons why is because an animal shelter is a different type of building. Just like your clinic is a different type of building. You couldn't ask Dr. Susie to sell you her clinic and be moved out in 30 days and operating down the street. It wouldn't happen. Okay. TxDOT is used to buying right of ways and things that they could literally come in, do the procurement and be working and turning dirt in 30 to 60 days. Okay. We know it's going to happen. So we want them to buy it now because in its simplest form, the plan, go through the bid process, everything that has to be done to facilitate building a new shelter. I don't think you could get it done in 18 months. I think it could come closer to 2.5 years.
So you're gonna it will totally take away the shelter.
It will take 20 foot, my understanding is that it takes 20 foot of the front of the building into the right of way. They can't cut 20 foot off the building. You know, it just won't work. So,
I hadn't heard of that.
He's gonna feed our entire building.
so
So-
it would,
We're gonna have to buy new property and move, or is that?
my understanding is we have plenty of property available. They'll have to decide on a site. Once they decide on a site, then we'll have to decide what the function of that facility is going to be. If we discuss with Johnson County and the county wants to come on board with us for animal purposes, not just for the procurement of the rattle, but if they want us to handle some of their problems that they have, and I hate to say it that way, but that's what it is. We field calls every day for the county, and we have to reject them. And
But you're gonna have to have a huge building. if you
we would
take
have to have
into account.
probably 4 times the size,
Yeah.
maybe more. And we'd have to have a definite agreement in place to even handle their bikes. Okay, they would have to handle staffing, other things that would have to come along with it. But if we just did their quarantine, okay, then we could turn it into a venture that would be beneficial for us. It would give us more money. They would have to give us some money to help make the facility larger. I would say that they should provide some staffing to handle those bike calls from our location, not just from a deputy showing up and then kicking it down the road for, for a while till the proper deputy comes on duty. And so we've seen it all. I mean, already. We've got deputies that direct people here with animals. We have DPS officers that direct people to us with animals. And then obviously, anyone in the county, if they're close, especially if they have a Joshua zip code, wants to bring them. And so I don't know what the logistics would be. I don't know what would even come of it, but we are going to start the discussion on big that.
Is that gonna encompass everything that the sheriff department comes up with?
I have no idea what they're going to expect.
It would need to be a partnership, a true partnership, a written agreement, just like our plans do with ESD and
Yeah, it would be an MOU.
county run operations, and
It
we,
would be some sort of,
some kind of partnership.
and
I follow where you're going.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a huge
Yeah.
project.
It is, it's something we actually.
that's something the mayor said he got an interest in. Mike is not against it, but I don't know if they know how big it is.
Yeah.
I don't think they realize how big.
And I do think that the logistics wise, Cleveland's talked about an interest. We're more centrally located, but if they did it by precincts, it might be something that might be workable as well.
You just have to be careful on how big of a slice of the pie you bite off.
I would rather,
As respect, in respect of how big of the pie they're gonna ask for.
Yeah.
Cause if they say, well, yeah, we want to be partners with this and,
And what are they gonna do long-term ongoing with that money?
that-
It's not a one-time deal,
That would be my.
yeah,
You've got
There would be
ongoing
an-
employees that you're gonna have to quadruple your employees to take care of all that.
and well, I don't think that Johnson County is going to want to offer animal services to the entire county. I don't think they're gonna wanna do that.
It would
I
need to
do
be-
think they're gonna want someplace that people from the county could take their animals. Okay, the strays and the ones that they pick up and the injured or the ill or whatever the situation may be. I think that's what they're gonna want. I do not believe they would staff or pay for staff to offer animal services to the entire county. Okay, I think that a fee schedule should be come up with that would be beneficial to the citizens of Joshua, where we could take that on. And then they would also have to contribute both to staff here at the facility and to increasing the size of the facility. I think, I've seen several of these different partnerships in different places. And the most important thing is to make sure that the shelter wholly belongs to the city. No matter how big it is, no matter how much money they gave, no matter where it came from, that the city retains full 100% ownership and management of that facility.
Dictatorship.
And, yeah, pretty much. And by doing that, we could benefit from it. having the contract, if we were to have a contract with them, it would have to be annual, reviewed annually. And then if you did it right, you could choose that it was not, no longer an option that you would, consider entertaining. If it didn't work out, it wouldn't work out.
Having several buildings. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I will be able to answer more questions about that at the next advisory board meeting, for sure. I may tell you that it's not gonna be, it may be a no-go, but they do need to realize that we are gonna have to do it sooner than later, because they can't expect us to be out of the way that rapidly.
Well, one of the things that you said, your talking point for the stance is that we are centrally located, more so than they probably want to admit. We have a small footprint, but we hold the key to the crossroads. 174 and 917 are a major, two major thoroughfares.
And they're gonna become more,
And they're gonna get busier and busier and busier. We can only pray that 917 takes some pressure off 974. But, yeah, I encourage you to go in there and talk about that. If y'all need me to join in, I'd be glad to do them. Not sure I'd be available because during the day, but
it is, I believe it's either 9 or 10 o'clock on the 10th. I'll make sure everybody knows that, so that if you were
put an email out
available,
to us.
I'll visit Mike, see what it.
I have a pretty flexible schedule, so I'm.
Or if you have any questions that you need some help with beforehand, before meeting, taking something, and you say, hey, let me bounce this off of you. You need some input, it's something
When's that project supposed to start?
They
nobody,
don't
I
know.
mean, I've been hearing it for what, 2 years?
Yes, ma'am. But-
more like
but-
5 years.
I think that's why Johnson County voted the bond in, was so that they could spur TxDOT from getting some of these projects done.
We're trying to roll started.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been jerked around because we've done a lot of stuff jumping through hoops. We'll say something's gonna happen and it doesn't happen. We make things and we do things and then nothing happens. I'm about to say that.
Yeah.
Because it is a problem. It is an absolute, no pun intended, train wreck
I
of a problem. And it
Yes,
only gets worse.
Yes, sir.
With the additions we just built.
Mhm.
But the people that are living here in Joshua now that have increased, they'll try to get that deal. And then,
And the one that's
when you
halfway
throw in there, the
done.
most important are emergency services trying to get across that track and get the emergency.
Well, I live in Hood County.
About a month ago, everything was on.
I live in Hood County, and so I have to drive from Greenberry to Joshua to go to my business. And I swear to you, I can't tell you how many times, at least 2 times a week, I would get stopped by the train in Crescent.
Mhm.
It took forever to get that bypass to go across the track. But I will tell y'all, in the months that it's been built, the train never stops there anymore. No, it's not even a joke. It is like,
It's not fun for them. They're not stopping
it
people.
is like, no, I mean, for years. There's a thing on Facebook, stopped at the train at Crescent, stuck at the train at Crescent. I'm telling you, they go fast. I haven't been caught back 3 times, 6 months, 9 months, everything. So, and you get stopped by Joshua Moore, and I get stopped in Godly now.
Mhm. I
Never
do
got
too.
stopped in Godly.
I get stopped in Godly, and I
So
do
it's
get
train
stopped in
just
Crescent.
backing with us, what I'm just
I
saying.
get stopped on 171.
Really,
They set up points where they stop.
why did they change all, from Crescent
That,
to Joshua and to Godly? Because there's more trains in Joshua and there's more trains. I never got stopped
That
in
would
Godly,
be-
and I've been driving there for 41 years, y'all.
When-
I know, don't have me too hard on that arm. But I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's like, what's going on?
no, it's a valid point. So yeah, that's good. There does need to be some forthcoming construction thoughts put out there. And if we can get some help budgeting it, to start that in motion, if there's some bond money, if there's any state funding, if there's any United States funding, if there's any funding that can be had, seek that out. That'd be much appreciated, but we do have to start that process going because you are right. It's gonna take a long time to get a proper facility put together. We're not gonna build a haydock brick building and with nothing basically around it, behind it, or in it, and then say, hey, there's your shelter. We'll make do.
Hey, we were so proud to get that thing, I'm telling you.
Well,
It
I'm like,
was
there's
so
something, and then
wonderful.
some people started to open their eyes and realizing how inadequate it was. So don't let us get in that condition. If you've got the range, don't let us get in that
Well,
position.
we've already made changes that are so simple to make it an easier to manage facility. Since I came on board, we've made changes to make it easier on staff. One of the things that they did that they probably spent some money that they shouldn't have was that they did the glass fronts. Okay. Glass fronts are pretty and everybody thinks that the diamond behind the glass is so much more better than the CV or the mail order one, but it's still the same diamond. Okay. It didn't accomplish what I think they wanted to do. They could have done some half opaque so that they could have taken those animals that had issues facing each other, and they could have done some things better by staggering the glass fronts and making it better for them socially and mentally. And but in general, for a small shelter that's, I think it's 12 years old, is that right? 2015?
Oh, it's built way before that. I don't know.
It's in fairly okay shape.
I
It
know
needs all new doors, but it's in
it's got to
okay.
be older than that, because my daughter and my last Girl Scout troop, they volunteered back in school.
When was Stan the mayor? Stan was the mayor. When it got built.
Anyways, anyways, I digress. Let's go on and move forward. We do know that's something that needs to be done, and I appreciate you taking the reins and y'all having a meeting about that. That's good that y'all are thinking about it.
Y'all got into it, shelter. I mean, I love it over there. It's so organized and clean. Which was, we had done a fantastic job at one.
Well, and now let's just say it's nothing negative to be said about any of the previous management or staff or anything like that. It's more of a different vision. And sometimes we can't see what's in front of us because of our vision. And I appreciate the fact that Tommy came in and has a different vision. I know that the previous management didn't think trapping was we got rid of all our traps. And at the time I thought, okay, that's a nice thing to do, but it's something that needs to be done. So some of the things that you're doing are moving in a good way. Progress is going to rub somebody wrong
Every time.
but this is some progress that we're going to have to get a hold of. And like I said, if it's not done properly, we could be looking at another upside down backwards facility like this one was. Like I say, when my kids volunteered there, it was awful. Some of the work that we did there that I came up and helped do, the begging and pleading we got just to put a walk track on the outside so people could walk it when there's nobody there, just to walk and see some of the animals and say, oh man, I'm gonna come up here and see if we can let off that animal. There's some things like that we had to add way later.
Well, if we were in a different location, I would be charging that we didn't need the big wood 8-foot tall fence. I would be charging for something different, whether it be vinyl coated chain link or what, just to make it friendlier and softer. But with the trains coming by 23 times a day, there is nothing we can do to get that noise down enough for those poor animals, because they don't know what it is. They have no idea.
Gosh, I never even thought about that, honestly.
Oh, think about it every day. 23 times
With
a
your
day.
coffee's shaking off the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the wreck that happened a few years ago, that van flipped out and almost landed right in the front door of the animal shelter. All right, anything else on that you want to go with? No pressure.
I'm ready to move.
Anybody have any questions on some of the things that he talked about? So we'll move on to number 3, discuss on the capital improvement plan, the CIP plan, fiscal year 2025-26 of the proposed budget.
I don't know if everybody got a chance to look those over or not. I'll kind of briefly recap them, and we'll start with the budget items because they're smaller and easier to talk about quickly. The larger of the budget items is actually our vaccinations. If you look at industry standards and at the ASPCA recommendations for vaccines, they recommend vaccination immediately upon intake. If you could do it on the trucks, they would rather you do it on the truck before the animal ever got to the shelter. Okay? The sooner the vaccine's in them, the sooner they have protection. Okay? They also recommend revaccinating at every 14 days, depending upon the age of the animal. With our average stay being 28 days, many of the animals would be vaccinated 3 times. Our budget,
Why revaccinate?
I think that's too much.
Yeah.
okay? It's an industry standard. I can't tell you,
For a shelter, it may be.
yes, for sure. No, not for the general public.
Yeah.
We're talking about shelter animals. I'm not talking about,
But if you're using good quality vaccines, I mean.
I can't, I'm not a veterinarian or an immunologist.
14 days and doing it 3 times, that seems like an awful big expense if you wouldn't have to do.
I'm sure Pfizer loved it, but.
Yeah, all the drug companies.
Yeah, but
But I will tell you, with the vaccination protocol and with as much as we've been doing, we haven't had 1 case of chemical cough by doing the border tail and doing it twice. Not 1 since I've been here. That's unheard of in the shelter. Okay, to not have chemical cough. We have no.
14 days for 3 times?
You vaccinate complete set of vaccine. The cats that we have that have been vaccinated and vaccinated with this protocol, yeah, there's nobody. We haven't had, knock on wood, we haven't had any upper respiratory. Our biggest challenge was ringworm. And it was because they didn't isolate the animals. They left them in a kennel or in a cage next to a healthy animal. And then, and Dr. Susie will tell you, it goes through the air, it goes everywhere. You know, it's not something you want to put next to a healthy animal. You just don't want to do it. And so we moved them all, isolated, cleaned very well, changed all our air filters. We didn't clean the ducts. We maybe should have, but we didn't. And we've been real fortunate. I've had 1 case of ringworm since we got those 16 cases under control, adopted, and transferred out. And it was all done before we adopted them out. We didn't adopt any out that had ringworm. So, but that is the recommendation by all the shelter standards, whether it's ASPCA, shelter medicine, all of them recommend vaccinating every 2 weeks, especially younger ones. The adults, I believe it says to vaccinate them, I'll look on here and see, adult dogs, 2 doses. They wouldn't get the 3rd. The adults wouldn't get a 3rd dose, they just get 2. And, but we want to basically double our budget in vaccine. It won't get us to that point to where we can vaccinate 3 times, but more highly adoptable for the younger ones that need it, keep them healthy in the shelter. That's what we've asked for. Basically just doubling. And if
We'll
we,
keep good records of that to know that.
we're gonna get to that one later. And so that's the vaccine requirement. The next one that we're asking for is our software maintenance. We have Pet Point software at the facility. Good software for operating small shelter. Absolutely good. But none of us are IT people. We're not computer programmers. We're not any of those things. And with the software we have, one of the things, and I'm not going to say bad data in, bad data out. That's not it. We put in everything we know how to put, but we have very little support from Pet. There's almost none. We have to literally search anything we want to do by posting in a community online. And then we have to follow up and see if we get a response. And usually many times it takes 2 to 3 days to get that response. What an upgrade would do, it does cost $2,500 per year for the license. We pay $0 now. Okay. So it is an expense, but it allows us for automated reports that would give us both case follow-ups in the field, vaccination and exam follow-ups in the shelter. It would help us with our foster programs, keeping up with what needs to be done with the fosters, such as the kittens that are in neonatal care, because we're all humans and out of sight, out of mind is very common. Okay? But with the implementation of what they call Pet Point Enterprise, that is an upgrade. We get all those custom reports that we can call them and they will have a live person help us walk through what we need for those reports, whether it be a field report, a shelter report, or an animal health issue, any of those things that we need to be made aware of. Like daily, it will give us a reminder of how long certain pets have been there, what their health issues might be, if we need to vaccinate, if we need to be calling on owners that we've identified, if we need to be following up with citations on warning. It'll give us all that information automatically instead of having to go back. Oh, was that 2 or 3 days ago? Let me look that address up and having to do it. Let's say we had 14 calls in a week. That would be 14 inquiries we would have to do manually. They could be done automatically for us. And then the support, it is 24/7 live support if we pay for the license. And that's why we want that. The smallest one is for protective footwear. Okay. It wasn't such a important thing to me the first few weeks, but I think it was just before I left to go on vacation. I came on board and went on vacation a month later. But just before I went on my vacation, I went to the back of a home out here past the off of Lone Star, and there are 2 fences. They're about this far apart, and I had to go in there to retrieve a cat that was injured. And when I did, I stepped on a mosquito one.
Oh, boy.
Okay. It wasn't bad enough to do anything but clean it up, put a Band-Aid on it, and go on. But had it been something a little bit worse, just one trip to Concentra will pay for everybody's safety protective footwear. And so we're asking for it. They used to have it, but because there wasn't as much oversight, they would choose to wear tennis shoes or whatever to work. And so they did away with the footwear. With if we provide it for them, they will be required to wear it. And I just think it needs to be done. And then, of course, our shelter attendant needs waterproof shoes. And, tennis shoes are not good for somebody to be back there, you know, disinfecting, scrubbing, and working in that way. So that's why we're asking for that. So that's our budget item, our regular budget. And then our capital requests that we've made. Has everyone been to the shelter? I know most of them have.
I have not been to the shelter recently.
Okay.
I'm pretty new, so.
Well, come see me. We'll fix you a cup of coffee, we'll walk around and we'll talk about the issues we have.
Got safe animals for my 1 and 2 year old to play with. I'll be coming by.
Okay? In the back, we have outdoor kennels that we move the animals every day. Every day the dogs go outside. That's a great thing. One of the things that's bad is their gravel, their dirt and gravel. Can't be cleaned, can't be disinfected. It just can't be. And it's, you know, we had a puppy in just it's been several weeks ago now. But, the third day it was there, it flew with parvo. Every dog goes outside every day. Those kennels are not numbered, and there's only 9. There are 16 inside kennels. So automatically the numbers don't match. And they're taken out there for our cleaning process so that we can clean faster and more efficiently. Okay? But that dog was out there 3 different days. If it were in 3 different runs, we have 3 different areas that could have been contaminated, and it could have been spreading parvo to the rest of the population in our shelter. We need to make that better. If something were to happen and we were to move forward with planning the shelter, it might be different how we manage this money. But we need to plan as though we're not. Okay? So we need to remove that dirt and gravel. We need to remove those kennels. We need to have 16 kennels constructed so that we have 16 spaces and can number them, and they can go to the correct number every day to limit our cross-contamination. We need it to be concrete so that it can be better cleaned. Some people say that concrete can't be disinfected. If it's not sealed, it truly can't. Okay? But it's still a lot better than gravel and dirt. And that's why we're asking for it. We just want 16 kennels with a concrete floor with a drain that goes to the sanitary sewer so that we can wash it down and disinfect it properly.
How much is that going to cost? I don't see that.
The
39,000.
quotes that we got, the preliminary quotes that we got were close to 40,000.
And that can't wait until we have a new facility? Because the tech stop's going to be
Well,
dozy.
it's saying it.
But you can't plan for the exception.
That could be 2 years.
You have to plan
Could be
for
5.
what is.
Well, yeah, so I understand tech stop,
Mhm.
is not something you can count on, but we do know it is inevitable
Yes,
that the current
Mhm.
facility goes away.
yes.
Yes, it may be money that's fluctuating.
And my understanding,
Yeah.
my understanding is
Full affected.
Yeah.
that if we do any major upgrades, improvements, or anything like that, they will be considered whenever they pay us for it.
Oh,
If we spend $40,000 on it, my understanding is that they're going to have to pay for that. You know, they're gonna have to build us something equal or better than what we had. So,
Well, it would definitely benefit the shelter to improve that layout in the back. I know just some of the minor things that we've tried to throw a few dollars at here and a few dollars at there help. But, I will say, I didn't know the situation was as it is. And when you say it like that, when it's, you know, you start talking about cross contamination and stuff like that, things like that, it really kind of makes you go, whoa, didn't realize that.
Mhm.
We don't know, we
Yeah.
don't think about it, so if you present it to the budget like that, and that's not like, oh, hey, we want new ceiling fans,
Mhm.
new coffee machine, it's not like you're asking for comforts.
And I'm asking, the way that I just put it to you is purely in the perspective again. We also have drainage problems in the back, okay? And this will address those as well. One of the socialization things that is trending right now, and I'm not a big fan of things that are trending, but I am a fan of this one, and that's the playtimes, because dog parks aren't going away, okay? Playgroups. And so when we do this improvement, we're also going to put a fence across the back of the yard so that we can take the ones that we think will work well together and put them off lead in the backyard without having to worry if somebody's gonna open the gate and them drive out. They'll have a play area that we can actually work with play groups with the dogs to make them a little more social. And so people can be more comfortable taking them to the dog park if they were to adopt them. And that's another thing that'll happen with that capital improvement.
You mentioned earlier too, this is a thought, you talked about training, tracking the training more. Make sure to think about any training that you may want to add that to the budget too. If you want to increase, productivity, and any skills that you think may be needed, it'd be a good time to put it in the budget and say, hey, I want to send them to some day classes or something like that, and that would, if it's something you see that's out there that can help.
If the council doesn't take any action and approves the things that we've already submitted, it's fairly straight across from last year in our budget, and it includes the training. And with as small of a staff as we have, the biggest, most important thing about the training is to increase the morale. They're pretty knowledgeable, they're learning, they've been to a lot of training, and we're very fortunate that, as you are a councilman, y'all have supported us with that. And we have a good training budget. Some of the things that I've personally looked into is there are some local conferences that don't require as much money. You don't have to have a hotel, they can drive. Costs a lot less to send them in a car than it does to send them overnight in a hotel. So we're looking at those things for next year. And of course, I'm very fortunate. I'll be going to the TACA conference, but I won't have to pay for it. My wife is the manager and director at Tri-City Animal Shelter, and it serves Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill. And so she'll pay for the room. All I gotta do is pay for my whatever it's called,
Right.
registration.
Get it where you can.
Yeah.
No, but just make sure that you have enough for what you need and training and stuff. It's, you've got some good help. If we could get you more help, we would, but do with what you can. Just keep letting us know anything that you feel you need,
Yes.
like this improvement to the backlot. Let us know. And I'm speaking from the council point of view.
We don't have anything to do with that.
Right,
No.
right, but that's
No.
why I'm speaking on that, is because a lot of times it just takes asking, because we don't know that there's an issue if we don't know that there's an issue. Because most of us are dumb like me, and we just go work 5 days a week, or a regular job, and this is just what our playtime, that's coming up here and volunteering for the city council. But yeah, just let us know what you need and be forthcoming with it and have the information like you've laid out in a good manner. It usually is welcome, you know.
Well, most of the things that I've presented, we've come up with as a team. We've talked about it. We've discussed it. I haven't had to bang my head against the wall too much. They're pretty good. They're pretty receptive. They want to learn. They're eager to be here, and they do pretty good. What I would like to ask you as my advisory board, not as Mr. Councilman, but as my advisory board, if I could get your endorsement on those budget proposals and that capital improvement project, so that I can carry that forward in our budget planning process to council.
We need to make a motion.
This is just a discussion, I don't know.
It's just a discussion.
Okay, don't need to.
The CIP? Oh, it's just,
Yeah, just,
okay,
you got my complete backing.
okay.
And,
I can make a note of that, it's not.
yeah.
I mean, I agree with,
Just go down the, I agree, but, okay.
Not everything but the vaccination, I think that's too much, but everything else.
and I agree with that too. I understand that's the policy. The rest of them think the same.
Yeah, so, yeah. Do what you need to do and do it well.
Well, when you consider Parvo can live over a year in the environment
Yes, ma'am.
and filling it on, in dirt, it's not gonna happen.
Is there anything, any other discussion points on that? Anybody have any questions? Okay, we like it how you presented it. So that's all for the regular agenda. Do we have any future agenda items or requests from the board members to be placed on the next agenda? I would like to see an update. Of course, we're gonna need an update on the building plan or any movement forward that we're gonna do on that. Let's talk about it again next month on what the plans are for the budgeted item for rebuilding that back lot. Because I think a lot of it's gonna hinge on your vision of how long it's gonna take to get the new building, if we decide to go that way, and if it's an expense that we're gonna get reimbursed for. Also, what work can be done by our guys, in-house city work, what would need to be, would we have to get a bid on it or anything like that, so.
Feel like we have lots of room for saving and
Well, getting our guys,
basically,
it's not always the savings.
Yes. I think they can take down a fence.
Sometimes that may be what happens over there, is that's what got us in this position, but I just poke fun at some of the guys, but seriously,
That's why we're getting them in the mailbox.
hey, I'm just saying. And something else I wanted to ask, that the thought was in there, and it just juggled around. And, was in your decision-making on, let's go back to the euthanization.
Yes.
Talk about, in your decision-making process in that, as well as, other small things throughout the building, are you doing it on a consensus basis, or are you just taking your word and that's golden rule, or what are we doing in that situation?
Oh,
And this is kind of a trick question, and I'll tell you why.
well, if you have buy-in, it's so much easier to get things done. Okay, no matter what it is. Okay, so I won't question them if they make a decision about euthanasia, because it is such a hard decision to make. If one of my staff member comes up and they can tell me, I don't question them, but they know they have to tell me why they've chosen something to be euthanized. Okay, and if they feel strongly in that way because they are not EU happy, they don't want to do it. Okay, none of them. Okay. But if they make that decision, I don't question it. But if I'm going to make a decision based upon it, I usually will go to at least one other staff member, and usually all the staff members, to make sure that they don't have an interest, or they don't know of someone with an interest, or that they don't know why that particular behavior, or why that,
Or if they've noticed something.
Yes.
that you have.
that I haven't seen.
I guess that was my point. They're having to come to you before they go forward, but you
I go to them,
99%
yes,
agree. And then you also bounce it off of them before you go forward with it. And the reason I ask that question is because we all know that things we've worked at through our lives, good management is having good people around you. And having a unified vision is part of that. And if you've shared your vision with the employees, people, the staff, if volunteers or whoever that comes in there, that's a lot, of being your good management. And especially if you get more volunteers and you have, I don't know if you do have a written vision, like this is my vision, this is how we do things or anything like that, something you
We need-
can put on. That might
We
be,
need a mission statement.
you know,
We need a vision statement or policy. And then we need a volunteer agreement that has to be signed. Okay?
yeah.
I'm working with, Brittany over, she's does the risk management. And we're talking about it now because for whatever reason, they discontinued the volunteers. I'm not privy to it, but we are working on getting it back in place. And hopefully it won't get me in any trouble, but I'm not going to refuse someone that wants to come up and visit with the animals and help socialize them and help them get out of the shelter.
But you need something in mind.
But we need something in place. Now I have them sign a liability waiver so that we don't have as much of this. But we do need a policy and I need to know how to carry that forward. That's why I'm visiting Brittany. And then, just to give you an example, where we've come together as a staff. Last week, we had 2 lab mixes that were picked up down off of, I can't remember what the county road number is as it turns the corner there just past the railroad tracks. They were brought to us and they were both pregnant. Again, our shelter is not equipped to be a maternity ward for animals, for pets that come and visit the facility. Okay? The right decision for those animals, knowing the numbers, and it's a hard decision. And I don't pretend that I would want to make it. Okay? But at the end of their stray hold, those animals pregnant, knowing that there were that many, possibly 10, 12 puppies per litter, okay, that we already don't have enough homes for, the right decision would have been to euthanize. No one could question that decision based upon the fact that there are not enough homes, okay? But we corroborated as a staff, and because they were very adamant that they didn't need to be euthanized. Well, I challenged them because just as with anything else, if any animal in that facility needs to have its outcome first and foremost. If you want it to get out the door, you need to make the effort. Okay? And every animal that's there, every day it needs to be more adoptable. Both of those are in foster. Both of them have foster homes. They are going to rescue groups upon delivery when the pups come, and then they will have a much better chance there than they will have being in a 4x4 kennel at the shelter.
Or being inside.
Yeah, exactly. And so, had they not responded well to the challenge, then they would have been euthanized.
Well, I have to say, I do agree in an instance, because if you're not willing to help participate in solving the problem, then don't be mad about my solution, because sometimes my solution may not be the solution that
Not popular.
everybody's gonna like. And that's good to push your people, to say, hey.
Well, I did the same thing at the clinic. I'm not an animal shelter, and we'll take in something, other activities.
Yeah,
We'll find a home for it, we'll find a home. I said, okay.
okay, you
We
better,
got 14 days to find a home for it, and they did. Most of
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
You know,
and you have to kind of hold to that, and as hard as it is to hold to it and not wimp at it, it's good to get some proactive, so thanks for throwing that in there.
Like I say, they responded very well. They reacted very poorly at first. but I
There's
did,
a lot of rescues though that pick up pregnant animals.
Yeah.
there are some, but also at the same time, one of the things I've challenged them with, and they've come around, is that not every person that professes to be a rescue is a good placement. Okay. We have one right now that we're working with that takes the geriatric pets, and we're trying to come up with a solution. She says she's a sanctuary. She's got over 40 animals at her home right now, and we're not going to place them. Okay.
I'm talking about the real rescue.
Yes, I understand it. But if you go down that, but if you go down that list, that,
Yeah.
if you go down the list that they had whenever I came here, there were several on there that had been investigated for cruelty and had been shut down.
There has to be some vetting.
Yeah.
There has to be some vetting.
Yeah.
If there's not vetting, then it's a free for all and, oh, yeah, I'm good for it.
We've been empowered by city management
Cat ladies and dog ladies all over the city.
within reason, within reason.
I only have 27 cats in my house right now.
I thought you were gonna say 27 kids in your house.
God, no. Now, of which 17 are all 10 weeks or less,
Yes,
because I am rescue.
Yeah.
she is.
And, but I have had animal control in my house too, so
Well, you gotta be prepared for that if you're willing to do it. I mean.
Yeah,
you-
we've been
you-
empowered
like you-
to do
you've
inspections.
been prepared. And
absolutely.
that
They
may
had
be
to
something we need to think about going further forward with, having a stipulation and sign an agreement with anyone that we partnered with and say, hey, if you're gonna be a part of this, we need you to agree to this standard and be willing, those kind of things. And don't wanna step on anybody's toes, but if you think about something
We're
like that, it
reviewing-
makes sense.
We're reviewing policeman partner agreements right now,
That's
as a matter of fact. And
I'm
like I
glad
said,
we
we've,
think alike. That's,
the city management has empowered us to do inspections. To do home inspections.
well, if you're gonna be doing more patrols and everything, inspections go hand in hand with it.
Well,
You can.
Many of these are outside the city,
Right.
so he's empowered us within reason to be able to go and do those, and transfers as well. We go to the Humane Society, we've gone several times since I've been here. Part of that because I have a relationship with them. I've had a long relationship with them. That's how I started in the animal world, was I was a volunteer there. So, they've helped us a lot.
Good.
Like I say, we're very fortunate to have a lot of support.
Good. Well, I didn't mean to get us off on another tangent.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry to keep y'all so long. If there's no further business, we've gone through the agenda. And sorry, this was a long meeting. It was a lot of our first time to get together. As this group lives as it exists. Susie and I being the two oldest in this group, but, appreciate y'all.
Oh, that's.
See, well, better.
I'm definitely
But-
the oldest.
But thank you, Tommy, for presenting your things to us as you did. It was very good. And at this point, we are adjourned at 8:00. Sorry to keep y'all so long.